Today is day 5, 2023. We will take a look at the Constitution of the Rio de Janeiro as federative unit. You will please take a look. The Article 1 says that the people is the subject of the political life and history of Rio de Janeiro. The people here, we are considering the Brazilian people and people that got born at the Rio de Janeiro. It's the article number 1. But when you take this article 1 of the Constitution in Rio de Janeiro with the article 5 of the Brazilian Constitution, because Brazil is a federative unit, you will have on Article 5 that everybody and everyone, all are equals at the law. And you have there individual basic rights and guarantees, in general guarantees that can be touched by any circumstance or any abusive power of individuals and groups. And one of them is the data that you can violate, even if a group of tourists coming to watch a game, you can't steal the financial data at this group, homogeneous group, by, for instance, foreigners and having a sport fan as common element. And you will check that the guarantee 33 we experience also this respect as individuals about the information you can request to the public administration and public power. That implies 3 levels at the federation as the counties or the cities, the federative unity as Rio de Janeiro, and the federation as Brazil. You have the mayor, the governor, and the president. They 3 both are integrated on fail, previously proved, Article 74. And they didn't accomplish the Constitution. Brazil, of course, that you wouldn't have the purpose as accomplished the Constitution of the federative unity or the organic law of the cities. Article 23, Item 1. And this is the first thing you will have in mind. The Article 144 of the Brazilian Constitution presents the institution as the security, the domestic security that has huge problems and gap as transparency and accomplish, as legal accomplish, and of course uphold the law as security institution is not a premise. If you receive money from organized crime and transfer money that you collected as tax payment of the citizen and foreigners in Brazil, transferring to the organized crime, with events quite clear, for instance Carnival, but you has an excuse to do this. And then you can present the accountability. 129 is the prosecution that in general receive monies to drip information about the case, and the justice that offer decisions. The Congress in all levels create law by the circumstance and interest, all representing the interest of themselves. The people is not the most relevant argument of the political life and the history of Rio de Janeiro. The Article 8 of the Constitution as Rio de Janeiro says that everybody, and here is everybody, has the right to live with dignity, including the foreigners. And the Article 10 says that the gap as lack of will of the public power and public administration, making the regular flow of constitutional rights unable or disable the regular flow of constitutional right implies the responsibility of the authorities and the institution. And by this we charged 1 extra billion against Rio de Janeiro as state with seats Saquarema and Rio de Janeiro City, recommending as audit while data attached audit considering institutional behavior and attributes observed, evidenced and proved from criminal purpose at Brazil and peers, leading to trust scam and power misuses of specific segments until chairs that didn't represent its own people, and by this having quite clear that threats mankind at consumer market, supply chain, others. It's recommended, number 1, test large group of foreigners, tourists, or temporary residents in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil, specific Rio de Janeiro Federative Unit, for parasites, diseases, by another threats by contamination. Number 2, have forecast of credit card and financial accounts of those groups by interference and data lifted by public and corporate peers. We are having now the 360 executive control with the tourists at the center, surrounded by the criminal architecture of Brazil, because this is the kind of life and threats that the Brazilian people have to live all the time. Even as a foreigner, as a temporary resident in Brazil, we represent this as Europe, while that attached Europe having the cooperation, I would say, or the interest as USA. In the very first moment, as US debt, US discretionary debt, the electoral frauds that brings the entire Western society and other histories, disrespectful, of course, by Brazil, that respect nothing. You test the group as homogeneous group. If confirmed that you have the sampling array inside with the same, for instance, parasites or new diseases, you please take a look at the legal support we offered as pro bono and request through your state or embassy the compensation against the institution with regression until the authorities. We could observe that we charged 0 at the start, but nowadays we are 39 trillion plus 1 extra trillion requested by the continuous and insistent behavior to violate rights and guarantees of the research, the guarantees of this entire environment as researcher, individual, and interest related with on private space also hurt by the same criminal groups that has no problem, and for instance have the contamination of group or any other by specific parasites and diseases to offer specific medicine that has only, for instance, in the area that you have the local contamination, but considering leaks as medicine package that are kind of placebo or fraudulent items, as observed them in Brazil. We have the problem as contamination also with the milk, beverage, a large number of items that the consumer nets as preference of the consumers, and medicine in the same way, and milk, I think that was, and meat was observed also in USA. Even in China they have problems with the Brazilian meat, The responsibility, one more time, is according with the Constitution, Federation, the Constitution of Brazil, the Constitution of the Rio de Janeiro, and by this insistent behavior, we claimed 1 extra trillion, total 40 trillion, with regression through institutions until checks. The cases as 3 billion plus 7 billion financial penalty and 1 extra billion, total 11 billion. 1 extra billion to pay the costs of the research made against the criminal system such from misuse of power inside institutions and states, not only Brazil but Brazil and peers as criminal architecture that didn't have a single and or unique reliable information down here and pushing this kind of research. And of course that the costs goes all against the criminal architecture, creating such a large number of problems for we all as mankind. Right? Right, Brazil? Have a great week.